Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Morning, dear participants and our distinguished speaker, Mr. Shakil Malik. Well, warm greeting from Center for Admissions and International Office of UIN Sultan Taha Saifuddin Jambi. I'm Tira Mariana, and I'm very delighted to be here today as your moderator. Okay, well, dear participants, today we are very honored to have Mr. Shakil Malik, MA, CIPM, CMMP, MPM. He'll be sharing with us about his experience in project management training, of course. Well, before we listen to his presentations, let me introduce you to Mr. Shakil Malik first. Okay. Okay, Mr. Shakil Malik is actually a veteran of work in an international development. He's a co-founder and chief executive officers of Global Center for Innovation and Learning. He has served as vice president of global development at World Learning Inc. and director for the Reading Within Reach project and Global Reading Network funded by USAID recently. And participants, our distinguished speakers has more than 20 years of experience in international project management, focused on literacy, social human development, and human rights. His portfolio at Creative Associates as the senior associate or director was $100 million across 5 countries, ladies and gentlemen, which are Tanzania, Timor-Leste, Cambodia, India, and Tajikistan. So before arriving at Creative, he was the director of global operation at the International Reading Association. Now it is called ILA in Washington, DC, of course. And he had led program management of literacy projects and provided strategic leadership and direction to the executive team. And so far, he has successfully won and administrated funding from government and corporate funders, including USAID, UNESCO, Person Foundation, and Nokia Corporation. And this is a little bit about his educational background. He has master's degree in educational leadership and policy from the University of Maryland, USA, and then a master's degree in economics from Aligarh University in India, and a bachelor degree in commerce from Dhaka University in Bangladesh. And he is a certified project manager with CIPM, CMMP, and MPM certification. Well, so today we are very lucky to have our, professional project management trainer. So let us listen directly for his presentation. And I'm sure Mr. Shakil, I ask your permission to later on explain a little bit about what is actually Global Center for Innovation Learning. Okay, well, dear participants, let's join me to welcome Mr. Shakil Malik.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and Assalamu alaikum again to all of you for joining this wonderful morning, I'm sure in Indonesia. Although you all have to forgive me because this is almost 10 o'clock at night. So if I don't behave like you in the fresh morning, you would be forgiveful. So inshallah, I will try my best. It's interesting. Before I get into the presentation itself, I just want to talk a little bit about myself. I think, Tira, thank you so much for illustrating my life a little bit. Of course, always we start with the name of Allah and with the humbleness that whatever happened is because of Him. and everything that he allowed us to do. Also, he allowed us to be here together for, inshallah, a wonderful reason for collaboration in the future. So I will be sharing certain slides, and I'm sure I see almost 86 participants on the screen, including myself. So I'm super excited, but also I would like to alert you that next 1 hour, almost an hour, that we will talk about project management. It will not be a lecture. It will be an interactive activity. So I like all of you to get your breakfast, coffee, or whatever you like to be with you, because you also need to participate together with me in this learning process. And if you have not figured out where is your chat box on the Zoom meeting, please find it, because I will be asking questions and we can all interact together. So let me share my screen, and I hope that you all can see this together. Dion, can you see the screen? I cannot hear you.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Prof.
Okay, so if you want me to make it a little bit bigger, I can, but just to make sure that everybody is seeing. So before I go into the actual presentation itself, I do like to ask a question. And I'm sure before we go into the discussion of project management, we like to really understand two issues very clearly. And I know also I have my honorable teachers from School of Business and many of the programs. So there are two ideas here before we go into project management. There is idea of project, and then there is project management. So first question is really understanding what is a project. And so it is quite important that we all get the sense of idea for a project, and then we get into the discussion of how to manage a project. So I like to open up before I get into definitions. I like to ask all of you, I'm sure you as a student, you as a professor, you as a professional, you have done different kind of projects or doing certain kind of project. And I like to ask all of you that when you think about project, what comes to your mind? Anything that comes to your mind when you think about a project, you can write it on the chat board. So I give you all 1 minute to think about what is a project, and if you can write something in the chat board. And remember, this is not an exam. There will be no exam. There is no assessment. This is a discussion. So don't worry about getting a GPA 5 in this program. Anything that comes to your mind when you are thinking about project or any project that you have done, just write what a project is.
Professor Salek, excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah. Professor Salek, as far as I know, almost all the participants who are joining our activities right now, they don't have such experience in terms of project, what we mean by project in Western country, particularly when we are talking about grant.
No, this is why
I am sure that
yes.
I am sure that none of us here has already got a grant in terms of international grants. So it is almost empty, almost.
That's okay.
As far as I
That's
know.
okay.
As far as I know. So if we can start from that, what I mean, then I think it will help us a lot. Thank you very much. So for those other participants who are like to say something what you can understand from there, please. That from me, that's what I can say, Professor. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Rector. No problem. And this is why I asked, because sometimes there may be thinking that the project is only about funding or grants. That's not always true. I think that we all are doing projects in our daily life, and we are doing projects in our student life. So we like to start from there. So if you are a student, when you are thinking about an assignment, are you thinking about your assignment? Are you thinking about your thesis? Are you thinking about your research project? It's really thinking about all the things we do to complete a very specific goal. And I like to share the initial kind of a definition so that we look at this definition and see whether this makes sense to you. Can everybody see?
Yes, we can.
So you will see very specifically, I talk about, there are a couple of words that are also highlighted. There is a definition and there are highlights. And there is a reason why the words are highlighted. So when we think about a project, it is an endeavor. And of course, any endeavor, anything we try could be a project. And sometimes it could be a personal project, it could be a professional project, it could be an organizational project, it could be your national project. But then also when you think about an initiative, just because you are thinking about an initiative doesn't mean it becomes a project. I as a professional, I might be dreaming a lot of things, but if I'm not executing the dream, then it keeps becoming, it stays as a dream unless you execute the dream. So this is why the second part, which is to accomplish. An accomplishment only happens when you finish the job, finish the activities. And what happens when you are actually accomplishing that specific objective? But how are you going to do that? You have thought about a dream, and then you want to execute the dream that I want to make it a reality. You need to do certain tasks. You need to do certain activities to make sure that that dream actually becomes true. And that's what we call the unique set of. There is also a very important issue. What is interrelated task? Interrelated task is a very important concept, and it cannot be very easily explained, but I will try. I will try to explain with a very simple example. I think even though there is rain, we try to go to work, right? And today, before you join this training, think about how many things you have to do before you actually join the training or the workshop. So for example, I'm taking the example of Dion. Before today's event happened, how many things you have to do, Dion? Many things.
Many things.
And there is no shortage. And not only you, many things. But also not only Dion, but our team work together to make sure that those things happen. But we have a specific objective for today. What was the objective? That we wanted to have the memorandum signed between two organizations. But did we accomplish the objective, Dion? Did we sign the memorandum? We signed the memorandum, right?
Yeah.
So we had one objective, that was to sign the memorandum, and we were able to sign the memorandum. So one objective was accomplished today, alhamdulillah. But now you think about, to accomplish that objective, we had so many tasks we have to do. And one task is connected with another. And why I'm saying this is that, for example, if the memorandum was not developed, we cannot sign it. So we developed the memorandum together. We also had a lot of conversation. Also, internally, the university has to go through a lot of process to come to an agreement to sign the documentation. Those are the tasks that are interrelated with each other. I give another example. So I know everybody in life want to have a home and want to build a house for themselves and their family. But before you build a house, can you actually build a house before you make the foundation? Can anybody answer to me on chat board? Can you build a house without the foundation of the house?
No, we cannot at all.
Right. So after you make the foundation, you make the wall. After you make the wall, you put a roof on top. So one thing is connected with another. Why I am giving these examples that maybe sometimes we think that it's not relevant, that why Shakil is giving all these examples that may not be relevant for us. The reason is that when we think about a project, there are activities that are connected with each other. For example, in the university, before you start teaching a class, can you teach a class if you don't have any students? You cannot teach a class if there is no student. But how do you get the students? You advertise. People take exam and they come as a student to the university. Then you have a university full of class and then you are teaching. So what I am trying to say, everything is a project mindset. And then to do the project, we also need effective utilization of resources. And now this is a very important question also, that before we go into effective utilization, we need to understand what are the resources. What kind of resources can you think? So think about your organizational situation or your classroom or your university. Does everything happens for free? Is everything for free, or we need resources to do certain kind of work?
We need resources.
Anyone want to answer? Dion,
We need
you are
money.
saying something? You need money. so I will put $sign on the chat board, but that's one resource. But think about, you have all the money in the world, but there is nobody in that island. Can you do the work with the money? Do you need any other resource?
Yes.
Let somebody else answer that question. You have the money, but what other resources you need? Anyone? Oh, look at that. Skills and knowledge. Amazing resource. You need skill and knowledge. What about other resources? Anything else? Anyone can write. Networks. Fantastic. I'm glad that some of the listeners are waking up. That's good. Can you think of anyone, any other resource? Relationship. Fantastic. More coming. Anything more coming? Any other resource?
Teamwork.
Teamwork. Yeah, fantastic. Good. But can you do teamwork unless there is a team? No. Who is the team? Is human. It's human resources. So that's what I was asking for. HR. You need human resources, right? So you need money, but also you need human resource. You might need materials. So for example, in the university, you need the building, you need the classroom, you need technology, you need materials, books and pens and papers, you need computers. So all these different materials we need. So it's not always the money. And I can give you many. I know everybody is worried around the world about the money, but I know examples where there was money, but there was no success. I have many examples. The project was not successful, even though there was money. Why? Because other resources was not there. Or this is the very important word that I was trying to say, the effective utilization of the resources did not happen. So what is effective utilization? We will come in few minutes to talk more about this. So I hope everybody now understand the initial thinking about a project. A project is about something we want to accomplish. It could be many different things, and I will give you some funny examples of project now. Just look at these attributes of the project first, that what are the project attributes, that all project need to have this. I think most of the items that I wrote there is pretty clear. But what about the last one? Anybody has any thought about the last one? Involves a degree of uncertainty. Why? Any project could have some uncertainty. Anyone has any response to the last one? Why a project could have uncertainty? Anyone on the chat board? Or Dion, I think you want to say something. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, because change is always happen.
Change is happening. Change is a big uncertainty. We have no control. We have no control about even next moment what will happen. We have no idea. But when there is uncertainty, we also need to plan certain things. We just don't sit around and wait for the uncertainty to happen. And I give you an example, and this is maybe a funny example from my own personal life. I always try to share. One morning, and I think you will like the story. One fine morning, I see that it was very sunny. It's a sunny day, right? And I was thinking that I will go outside, but I also I see that my grandfather also wanted to go outside. And my grandfather had the umbrella with him. And I asked him, I said, why you have the umbrella? It's outside is very sunny. It's fine. There is no rain. And my grandpa says, you are not taking your umbrella? I said, no, it's sunny outside. I don't want an umbrella. So I went outside. He also went outside. But guess what happened? Can anyone think about what happened later on? He came back home and he was completely dry. I came back home, I was completely wet. Why that happened? Because he took his umbrella, and when it rained, he actually could save himself from the rain. I had no umbrella, so I could not save myself from rain. A simple story. What does it mean? Uncertainty happens, but you also need to plan. If the uncertainty comes, how are you going to tackle? We sometimes say that it's plan A, plan B, plan C. Do you have an alternative plan? So when there is uncertainty in a project, you also need to have an alternative plan. So this is very important in project and project management discussion. Any questions so far? Anybody has any question? All right, I see no question yet. So now it's a funny example. I wanted to give some funny example. Are these projects? I give some example of projects. Are these projects? Anybody agrees with me? Most complicated project may be the wedding planning.
Yes, that's a project.
That's a big project.
Big money and big project. And need a long preparation for that.
And I think many people talked about the resources. I can guarantee you all the resources that you mentioned are needed for this project, the wedding planning. Those who already are married, they know, and those who are planning wedding, inshallah, also need to have all the attributes that you are talking about. Human resources, you will need money, you will need all the relationship, you will have the network, you need to utilize all the resources that are available to have a successful event. And then you have all the other projects, that example that I gave here. But let's talk about some constraints of a project. When you want to do a project, there are also difficulties. And these difficulties depends on what kind of project it is. So when we are doing an education project, I think it will be easier for all of you to maybe understand and also appreciate that when an university setting or a school setting or an university setting, why do we exist? We are trying to make learning easy for everybody, and everybody can learn well and be successful in their life. But if we are doing a project in the university, for example, we are doing a project for teacher training, then we need to think about what is the scope of that project. Are we training all the teachers? Are we training only the administrators? Are we training the students? That is the scope. And the scope has to be very clear. If the scope is not clear, then we cannot really complete the project successfully. Why cost is also a very important constraint, because I think initially when the rector started, the honorable rector was mentioning about the grants program and the issues. I think he mentioned very clearly about financial resources, and cost changes. You might start a very important project, you have a budget, and then when the project starts, things change and the budget goes high, more than you budgeted for. And I think all my honorable deans who manage dean's office are the most important people who knows about the budget. Because you start a project and maybe after a certain time, you will realize that the budget was not enough and we need more resources, we need more money to complete the project. But if you don't have more money, how could we complete the project? For example, I don't know what is the current scenario. Dion, I don't know if you know, what is $1 to Indonesian rupee? Do you know?
15,000.
Did it increase last couple of months?
Yeah, I guess. Around
How much
15,000.
it is? How much it increased? Do you have any idea? $1?
You can
I
buy
think
a,
less than $1. Just point something.
Right. So what I'm trying to say, think about you did a budget for a certain amount, but because the inflation, the cost of everything is now increased. Because of COVID, everything is increased. Life is becoming difficult. So what you budgeted for last year may not be enough to complete the project this year. But how do you manage? How do you manage the inflation? How do you plan for doing the work that you plan to do within the budget? So there is a lot of management and budgeting knowledge we need to have in the project management science. And these are skill set that we need to learn so that we can do better project management. And then the third one, the biggest one, and the most complicated one, which is schedule. Why? Schedule is the most important one. Can anybody tell me why scheduling is the most important constraint?
Because everyone is busy.
That's a very good reason, Dion, but that is not the answer I was looking for. Do you know what answer I was looking for? I tell you something, I think all of you will appreciate this. In this world, you can buy a lot of things if you have money. You can negotiate. But can you buy time? I will give you $20 million today. Can you change the 24 hours in a day? Or 30 days in a month, 12 months in a year? We cannot change the time. So the biggest scarcity of resource is the time. We need to finish all the work, but we have only very specific time. So if you are not the best manager of time, I think we all talk about this a lot, time management. But if you are not the best manager of time management, you cannot be a good project manager, because you need to learn how to manage your time as a good project manager. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about the scope. You need to manage the content of the project. You need to manage the cost of the project. You need to manage the time of the project. And then finally, the last one is customer satisfaction. Who is the customer? Customer is the person who is paying for your work. So in your case, if your university and your project is paid by the government is giving you the money to do the project. And if the government is not happy with the work, that means project is not going well. If the donor is giving the money to you for the project, the donor need to be satisfied with the work. So it's always there is a satisfaction issue in the project management. And if you are not providing the proper satisfaction to the client or the customer, then the project is not successful. Actually, this is I can go on for a long time, but I know it's a complicated thinking. So I just want to make sure that everybody gets a basic understanding and overview. So our project actually has 4 stages. Any project has 4 stages. And these 4 stages are very simple. And I put the simplest word that I can find. One is initiation of a project. You start how to plan and develop the project. And this, after the planning, you actually have to do the execution or implementation of the project. And then finally, you close the project. But it sounds very simple, but it's not very simple process. Before you start a project, the initiation stage is quite detailed and quite deep. So I know many of the professors and many of the students have the opportunity to do a PhD or a master thesis, right? So when you do a master's thesis or a research project, what is the first thing your professor will ask you? Dion, you would remember that what do you have to submit? Is your
dissertation.
question? No. Dissertation is the final product. But when you started your PhD program, you need to really
Proposal.
Right. In the proposal, what did you write?
like
The
methodology,
hypothesis,
planning.
the research question.
Yeah,
You need to figure out the problem that you are trying to solve. If you don't have a good research question, then what are you trying to find information for? Right?
Problems.
Yes, Abdul Walid, go ahead. You're saying something? No, okay. All right. So you're saying something?
Problems.
Problems, exactly. So if you cannot find the problem, how can you solve a problem? So everybody talks about solution all day, but I ask people that have you found the problem yet? If you have not found the problem, you cannot find the solution. And actually a lot of people ask me, Shakil, I am trying now 2 years, I cannot find a solution. I say, because you are not finding a solution, the reason is you have not found the problem yet. Why I am saying this? I think Dion had about this before, so I will give the example again. I think many of you know sometimes when we are not feeling well, we have fever, right? Do we have fever sometime? Do we have fever sometime? Right? So we have fever. But is the fever a problem or it is a symptom?
symptom.
Why do you think fever is a symptom, Dion?
Because it's not expected.
Right. And the reason fever is happening, if you dig deeper, and when you go to the doctor will give you some test. Why doctor want to do the diagnostic test is to find the problem. If fever was the problem, then doctor will give you medicine and you just go. But doctor does more work. If fever was problem, you get a Tylenol or you get a paracetamol and it's gone. But again, after 6 hours, you will have fever again because there may be an infection. And the problem is the infection. And if you don't treat the infection, then fever will not go away. So this is what is very important. If we cannot find the problem that we are trying to solve, then we cannot solve the problem. I think a lot of time in project management, I see people are on the surface. People are really not digging into the issue. Maybe I'll give an example today, 1 or 2 examples. So anyone want to tell me a community problem that Indonesia is facing right now? A problem in our community. Anything that comes to your mind. Any national problem or problem in your community, problem in your island, anything. I like to see somebody responding on the chat board. Any problem that you can think of in the community, your own community. Any example.
Everyone throwing garbage everywhere. Then we want to solve their problem. Yeah.
So waste management is an issue. Waste management is a big problem. So everybody is doing waste and there is trash everywhere. It's not clean. So when you think about waste and we want to solve a problem, is the trash the problem or there is another reason why the trash is everywhere? Maybe we can see the trash. We think trash is the problem, but trash is not the problem. Can you think why there is trash? I think everybody is very intelligent people. I know everybody has answer, but maybe shy to respond. And maybe their professor is here. That's why they're not responding. So Dion, I am trying to make the interactiveness, but I don't think anybody is responding. I know they know the answer. The answer is not the trash. The answer is not the trash, because if there is trash, we need to think about why the trash is everywhere. Is it because of us? Is it because we are not putting the trash in the right place? Is it because we are producing too much trash? Is it because we are not recycling our trash? Is it because of our behavior that we are not clean anymore? It is our behavior. What is the reason that we are not really doing waste management? So once you start thinking about the problem, you start breaking down the issue. Exactly, Dion, you wrote about mindset. The idea is whether is it because of the social behavior? Is it our behavior changing?
Professor Shakil,
Yes.
can I just intervene a little bit?
Yes.
Ya, Bapak Ibu sekalian, dalam diskusi seperti ini, apabila Profesor Shakil asking you a questions, he is really asking you a question and waiting for you to answer that questions or to be involved. Jadi ketika Profesor Shakil nanya dan masing-masing kita punya jawaban, ya just bersuara, respon langsung. Ini bukan dia mau menjawab sendiri Profesor ketika dia menanya sesuatu, jadi langsung saja kita ikut. So there have been like 3 or 4 times that Professor Shakil is really waiting for the answer from us, and none of us answered the questions. So please be aware of that. Jadi silakan sadari kalau Profesor Shakil nanya, ya jawab aja langsung sesuai dengan yang dipikirkan. You don't have to, tidak harus khawatir bahwa salah dijawab. Jawab aja langsung. Ya, ada beberapa pertanyaan tadi kita tahu jawabannya, tapi kita tidak mau jawab. Oke. Silakan dijawab langsung supaya terlibat dan diskusinya dinamis dan to show that we understand what being presented by Professor Shakil. Jadi Mr. Dion, sometimes we really need to
encourage
teman yang lain untuk menjawab gitu ya. Silakan. Please continue, Professor. Thank you very much.
No problem, Rector. Thank you, Dr. Saudi. The issue is it's okay. It's okay. I know everybody is thinking, and these are not easy concepts. These are not easy concepts because sometimes this is really doing brainstorming in our mind. And also, I know this is our first day, so there may be some of you might be shy to respond. Also, I know if my Mualimus was in front of me, my professors, I also will be shy to respond. It's okay. I like you all to think. I think that's the main important part, that sometimes we are not thinking deep. We are always rushing, and we are rushing to complete our task every day, but we are not accomplishing anything. And sometimes I also hear from a lot of professionals, Shakil, I'm working so hard, but I'm not accomplishing anything. So maybe there is a problem in what you are doing, because we are not thinking deep enough to find solutions. We are always really rushing. This is why it's important that before we start any project, either it's a construction project, it's a research project, it's an education project, you really need to think about the problem. And if you cannot find the problem and identify the problem, I guarantee you it's not gonna be good solution that you will find, because you don't know what the problem is. So same thing for opportunity. I think a lot of time people say that, Shakil, I like to work on an opportunity. I see I know everybody loves a word, new word. Dion, can you tell me what is the most popular word in the world? Popular word in the world. What is the most popular word? Everybody want to be an entrepreneur. Enterprise and entrepreneurship. Everybody want to be an entrepreneur. But why everybody cannot be an entrepreneur? Because you cannot locate the opportunity. If you cannot locate the opportunity, then you will be able to do an entrepreneurship. And the way you find the entrepreneurship opportunity is actually also to deep thinking and deep research and deep data collection. So next stage, now that you found the problem, think about you actually located the problem or the opportunity. Now the question would be, what do you want to do about it? So for example, I think that communities, we have a lot of waste and waste is not managed properly. So I want to solve the problem. Dion, let's start a project for waste management. But my question is, what do we need to do waste management in the community? Can I alone do the waste management?
No.
I cannot do it alone. So I will need all those resources that we talked about to do the waste management in our community. And so to do something like this, we also need to plan. We cannot just think about, okay, the waste management from tomorrow will happen and it will happen. And I sometimes joke about this. I know this is serious business, but it's not like kun faya kun. Because you think the problem will be gone, it's only Allah can, not us. We need to solve our problem. And it's interesting because we think it will happen automatically. If we avoid the problem, problem will go away. But problem doesn't go away. You need to plan. And the planning is a big process. You see, the second stage of project management is planning. Think about an engineer. Is there any engineer here?
We have the science tech lecturer.
Is there any engineers? Yes, science people will know very well. If you have a problem you want to solve, and anybody who is good at math, you are trying to solve a problem, you need to do planning, don't you? So for example, you want to implement. And the implementation is when all the resources are used, properly used, so that you actually can successfully complete the project. And finally, when you finish the work, you do the closing. But the closing of project management is also quite important, because in the closing part, what we do is that we do evaluation. How did I do? Did I do well? Did I not do well? How was my project done? Was it a good quality, not so good quality of work? We evaluate the project. So in the project management science, there is a lot of different concepts. And I want to stop there because I can go on for hours if I want to talk about project management. So really the fundamental idea that I like to leave all of you with today is to think about, when you think about a project, you need to think about the resources that you need. You also need to think about, what are you trying to do with this project? What is the goal of the project? And if you know the goal of the project, then it will be easier for you to plan for the project. And once you have a good planning, it's just the good planning is not enough. You have to implement what you have planned. You have planned Are we using all resources appropriately? Can we do things differently so that there is less expense before we ask for more money? So efficiency for my financial resource is very different than human resource. Also, there is efficiency issue about supply chain. I don't know if many of you maybe in the management sciences, you are familiar with the word supply chain. If some things are delayed, then the effective use of resources is not possible. For example, if you have started your class and your students don't have the textbook, is it always possible for the students to learn without the textbook or without the internet, without technology? So sometimes we think about how to get the resources on time and when we need it so that the resources could be utilized properly. So there are many different aspects when we think about effective use of resources. I hope, Dr. Maluddin, I responded to your question a little bit.
Okay, well, it seems we don't have any more question in our chat room, Mr. Sakil, but I do have questions if I'm allowed.
Sure,
Okay,
sure, Tina, go ahead.
all right. One question from me is that how about we when do conduct a project, but it's unpredictably causes cultural conflicts. So what should we, like what strategies should we take for for make that okay, we have win-win solution that we can continue with our project, and while in other side we don't, we don't have any like disturb or feeling uncomfortable with our presence in doing our project.
So are you asking about conflicting
Yeah.
situation and conflict with who? The point would be very important. Is it conflict within the team, or is it conflict with the client, or is it conflict with the community?
With the community.
Right. So very important issue. I think you raised a very important issue because if you don't have a community consensus, before you start any community project, you need to have a community consultation. You need to have a discussion with the community. Just because Shakil thinks it's an important thing for my community doesn't mean community thinks the same way.
Yeah.
Correct? So
Yeah.
how do we make a community consensus? We talk to the community elders, we talk to the community members, we do focus group discussion, we also do something called assessment. We call it community assessment. We collect data from the community, ask them fundamental questions. And then we find the consensus among the community that what are their most important issues that they want the project for. Maybe the community will come back to you, Tira, and say, we need fresh water. We need fresh water project. Or they might come back to you, say, we need more education for our children. Or they may come back that, no, these are okay. We need electricity or we need technology. We don't know. Sometimes we think we know all the problems of our community, but we don't know what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
So we need to find that information from the community before we make a decision about what kind of programs we want to do.
Thank you so much. I got the point now. Okay, so it's like before we really conduct like community projects, we need to, of course, like have community consensus, right?
Yeah.
With the elders, with the member of community. Okay, and I think we also need to like have a discussion what actually the community need.
Right.
How can we help the community with our project? How can we improve the community with our project? Okay, thank you so much. Is there any or
I think there is one other question.
Yeah.
Abul Walid wrote
Yeah.
about what kind of projects are included on this collaboration,
Yeah.
education, technology, or others.
Yeah.
I think this is a more larger question for future. I think I'm not gonna be able to answer the question. This is a question for discussion between GCFIL and also the university. We will be discussing different kind of programs and projects for the future. Maybe Dion, you want to respond to that question?
Yeah. So this project, this memorandum of understanding or the partnership is, like under those three kinds of stuff. So we can work on the education. We can work on the project on community development. So the thing is, we will work together with GCFIL and to plan the call for proposals. So if Mr. Abdul Walid, you are interested in joining us to create a teamwork for the future call for proposals, and that will be awesome. So after this, we are going to create a teamwork who are going to work hand in hand with the Global Center for Innovation and Learning. And we will respond to the international call for proposals, and we will find like international donors, and inshallah brother Sakil Malik is willing to assist us with all the technical stuff, like including creating a good proposal, strong proposal, and then send it to the international donors. So I hope that's answer the questions, Pa Abdul Wali.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Sakil, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just
Okay,
listening.
okay.
I see another question there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There is a question from Dimas. He's saying that we have mentioned that we have to know what is the problem. Then the project will do something as the solution. My question is, when I have an idea of something somehow without thinking any particular problem before or earlier, can the idea become a foundation of project? Or I still should find a problem before do some executions?
So I like to see Dimas. Are you there? Dimas, I want to see you. Can you come on video?
Dimas? Yeah.
So fantastic. I want to congratulate you for a wonderful question. This is extraordinary question because projects are not always about problems. This is also something our mindset we need to be very clear about. It's both for problem and also for opportunity. And I think you are mentioning about opportunity. So for example, if you ask me, Shakil, do you have any problem in your house? I might say, no, I don't have any problem right now in my house. It's okay. Alhamdulillah, it's okay. But then if you ask me, is there an opportunity in your house? I say, yeah, there is an opportunity. And you can ask what kind of opportunity. I'll say, you know what? I have 2 rooms, but I want to build another room for my house if I have resources. And I want to extend the size of my house. Well, there was no problem, but it is an opportunity. If I have another room, I can do something like make a study room, make a library, make something else there. So it's not always that you need to have an opportunity, you need to have a problem to have a project. Now, a lot of time we are trying to improve our life. We are trying to develop something new. So a lot of technology projects are not only to solve problem, but also opportunities that you can actually have projects to do some new opportunities for people. So your question is excellent. Thank you for that.
Thank you for the answer, Mr.
Of course. I saw
Okay.
one hand before. I don't know who it was. Somebody had a hand before, wanted to ask a question, but I don't know if any other question there.
Okay. Participants, we give one more questions if you still want to have, like have questions or maybe something you would like to consult. If there's no more questions, so we are going to the closing statement from our rector.
Yes.
Okay, because yeah, it seems this is going to be the end of our event today.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rector?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Um, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Okay,
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
First of all, I would like to thanks to Professor Sakir, who has shared with us what we need to know at these steps, and for starting a project, particularly for a collaborating project with institutions in a Western country. So we do need to understand the way how Western countries or Western people look at a project. And I think there's been a lot already that had been said by Professor Sakil. And I would like to ask Mr. Dion to write down whatever we need to follow up, and particularly dealing with the way how we what respond to a call for proposal, call for a grant, and if there are hindrances or challenges along the way, please let me know what we can do about it. And for Mr. Sakil, thank you very much for this. And as you have seen that many of us have very little knowledge about what we are talking about. So, but we really want to see this happen. So please let me know, or Mr. Dion know, what we can do about this. And I really want to see at least one project that we collaborate together, particularly with international grants. And thank you very much for all the deans and participants who are joining us today, and also all the students. And as Mr. Join has already told us, Professor Sakil, that we've been collaborating with MSU more than 1 year now, and we would like to see if there are or there is a possibility or possibilities that these three institutions that collaborate together, or dealing with LPDP. If it is possible, we would like to participate or to start to collaborate with LPDP, particularly under the Ministry of Religious Affairs. As you have already been told by Mr. Dion that you have already collaborated with LPDP under the Ministry of Education. I believe that you have already known some, that here we have two ministry dealing with educations. One is under general education, and the second one Ministry of Religious Affairs. So we would like to take part of on this collaborating with LPDP. And please inform us what we can do about this, and what kind of initiative that I have to take in order to collaborate with LPDP with what you have experiences on already. Thank you very much for everyone. Thank you very much, Professor Shakil, and International
Thank
Office.
you. Take care. Take care.
Thank you, Mr.
Assalamualaikum.
Rector. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Sakil.
Thank you very much, International Office Animation. You have done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak
Thank you so
Rector.
much.
Thank you.